In this video, I'm going to cover BlackBerry stock because recently BlackBerry sold Cylance and has somewhat of a partnership a little bit. I'll elaborate more. I'm going to go over the press release. I'm going to go over the business call that they had as well. A replay of that should pop up right about here. Highly encourage you to watch it, have it up on my channel, so that way you get more details, interpretations, whatever that I might not get from it. So yeah, I'm going to go over the press release, go over the key points that I thought for the business call, a little bit of the technicals, and my opinion overall. I do own shares in the company though. Be aware of that while you're watching this video. And I'm not a professional, so please do own due diligence and research before buying and selling. And also remember, on December 19th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, the conference call for earnings, Q3 earnings, will be released and be live as well. And I'm going to be covering that on my channel as well, roughly about 10 minutes before the conference call. Going to go over the numbers once they get released, do a year-over-year comparison, quarter-over-quarter comparison, look at the profits, losses, and all that stuff. So if you want to be updated for that as well, highly encourage you to follow and subscribe so you'll be notified when that live stream comes up. So there's that. Now, in terms of recent events, as of December 16th at 9 a.m., press release was released. Arctic Wolf and BlackBerry announced acquisition agreement for Cylance. And just a little bit of history for Cylance for BlackBerry. Back in November 16, 2018, BlackBerry to acquire Cylance and add premier AI and cybersecurity capabilities. And they roughly bought it about for $1.4 billion. The reason I said that is because, say, roughly about $1.6 billion cash is they also covered the assumption of unvested employment incentives awards as well. I don't know how much extra that would have been, but essentially the deal is expected to close prior to the end of BlackBerry's current fiscal year and then February 2019. So back in end of 2018, beginning of 2019, they bought Cylance for $1.4 billion. The only problem is, the reason I'm saying it's not a great deal is because essentially they're selling it for give or take about $200 million, right? So substantial loss. Now, my opinion on this is it's still a decent deal. At least we get something, but the cybersecurity division. So remember, BlackBerry has two divisions, IoT division and cybersecurity division. The IoT division is already profitable and growing. The cybersecurity division, if you take Cylance out of it, because there's more sectors within the cybersecurity, it's not just Cylance, then cybersecurity is profitable. The Cylance side was not profitable. And from what Tim, the CFO, stated from BlackBerry is it would take even more investments to start making that portion profitable. And it's not just more investments and more time, right? So given that they sold Cylance for give or take about $200 million. The reason why I'm saying $200 million is because $160 million of cash plus 5.5 million common shares of Arctic Wolf, which I'm going to go over. It's a private company, but I'm going to go over a little bit of somewhat of the evaluations provided online and share price and all that stuff. But if they could remove that cost and non-profit side of the cybersecurity company and focus more on the more profitable side, then that is more beneficial for the company. And the way that the new management's moving, personally, I think it's great because they're actually delivering on their promises, moving really quickly, because I honestly did not expect that this Cylance would be sold this quickly. And it seems like it's going to be closed by Q4. So I'm going to go over the press release as well to provide the more details. But overall, it seems like the team is doing well. So if that's the case, and they're focused on shareholders' value, which in the past, the previous management constantly mentioned that they're focused on shareholders' value, but we saw no progress, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Maybe sometimes there was some progress, but it was pretty short-lived. But this time around, they're saying that they're focused on shareholders' value, and I see pretty quick movement personally. So, and then remember, one of their promises was to be profitable by Q4. Hopefully they'll be profitable by Q3, which will be, again, December 19th, next day. But for Q4, awesome stuff, and they're hitting their targets, right? So there's that. Now, in terms of press release, I'm just going to go over it, and then I'm going to go probably through the evaluation first, and then the key points, and then the technicals in that order. So Arctic Wolf and BlackBerry announced acquisition agreement for Cylance. Two global leaders in cybersecurity software today announced that they have entered in definitive agreement for Arctic Wolf acquire BlackBerry Cylance endpoint security assets. Cylance is the pioneer of AI-based endpoint protection trusted by thousands of organizations around the world with acquisitions. The key points are a little bit after this, but just in case you wanted to hear this part. Arctic Wolf ushers in a new era of simplicity, flexibility, and outcomes to the endpoint security market, delivering the security operations results customers have been asking for. So under the terms of agreement, BlackBerry will sell its Cylance assets to Arctic Wolf for $160 million of cash, subject to certain adjustments, and approximately 5.5 million common shares of Arctic Wolf, which right after this one sentence, after allowing for the purchase price adjustments, BlackBerry will receive approximately 80 million of cash at closing and approximately 40 million of cash 1 year following the close. So basically beginning of 2025, they'll get about 80 million, and then beginning of 2026, about 40 million. Now, in terms of valuations a little bit, so it looks like it is a private company. Seems like it's a pretty good cybersecurity company that is actually growing and getting some like recognition and all that stuff, or a decent amount of recognition, not some recognition. And its market cap evaluation is somewhere between $4 to $5 billion that I was looking at. And then in terms of share price, somewhere between it's saying $7.94 right here and $8 right here, but somewhere between $7 to $8 per share, which if you take about the 5.5 million that they're going to also get, it's roughly about $40 to $44 million. Now, I will say I'm a little bit jumping the gun here a little bit, but one of the questions was asked, how would you evaluate this private company in terms of shares that you're receiving? And Tim, CFO BlackBerry, stated more of the lower side. He did provide a range, and I'm just quickly looking at the notes, somewhere between $18 to $50 million worth from these shares. So I stated like it's somewhere between 40 to 44 million based off of the numbers provided online from what I found. And from what Tim is saying, regardless of the 40 to 44, what I'm saying, he's saying somewhere between 18 million to 50 million, give or take, right? So there's that. So the reason why I like this, and it kind of shows partnership, and plus John G. Matteo states this as well in his statements soon, is it's a little bit of a partnership too, because of the vested interest in terms of Arctic Wolf with the 5.5 million shares. You would ideally want Arctic Wolf to grow, because if that grows, then this basically vested interest grows as well. So providing potentially cash later on when BlackBerry decides to sell this, or probably get a loan against this, or whatever they might want to do, right? So there's that. Now, the proposed transaction is subject to customary closing conditions and is expected to close in BlackBerry's fourth fiscal quarter. Again, this is pretty impressive to me. This shows that the management is moving pretty quickly and hitting their targets and promises. So I'm excited personally. So that's the thing. Like, I'm actually seeing movement. Again, if you're a long-term BlackBerry holder, I am myself, you still want to grow faster, obviously. But for newcomers and investors, especially when we were under $2.50, personally, I thought the company was way undervalued at under $2.50, way undervalued. And the returns are going to be quite substantial coming up in the near future if you're a new investor. If you're a long-term investor, obviously you have to hold on a little bit longer, but at least it's promising that you're seeing progress, right? So there's that. Now, Arctic Wolf is a leader in AI-powered security operations, delivering in solutions from a single open platform to meet customers' needs for effective, comprehensive, and reliable security outcomes. With the addition of Cylance, trailblazing suite of endpoint security capabilities and enhanced AI functionality, Arctic Wolf will bolster its position as a market-leading platform provider, offering coverage from the endpoint to the edge. Also, there's another thing, they're keeping the patents too, but they state that later on. That's why I'm going through this. As many of the organizations are looking to consolidate and increase an increasing number of disparate security tools, there is a rapidly growing demand for end-to-end platforms. Now, this was a statement by Arctic Wolf, and the next one is John G. Matteo. So security has an operations and effectiveness problem, and endpoint solution alone have failed to live up to the outcomes they have promised for years, said Nick Schneider, President and Chief Executive Officer, so CEO of Arctic Wolf. By incorporating Cylance endpoint security capabilities into our open XDR Aphora platform, we will be addressing a rampant need for truly unified, effectively security operations that delivers better outcomes for customers. We believe we will be able to rapidly eliminate alert fatigue, reduce the total risk exposure, and help customers unlock further value with our warranty and insurability programs. The good thing is, though, this company is growing. So that's the good thing. And it looks like it has good promise. Again, the value of this 5.5 million shares, now let's say it's worth 40 to 44 million from what I'm stating, or even 18 to 50 million. It's only going to grow if the company is doing well. And again, it's valued about $4 to $5 billion company, which is pretty impressive because, again, BlackBerry is valued roughly about, I think right now, if I pull it up right now, with the share price climbing, it's valued at $1.88 billion company. So pretty impressive. They obviously know what they're doing, and they're growing at a good pace, right? So there's that. Now for John G. Matteo, I'm incredibly excited to partner. So again, he stated partner here, and I see it as a partnership too, because again, the vested interest with 5.5 million shares, plus they keep the patents, all stuff. It's pretty good stuff, I think. Again, I wish they got more cash. To me, that's the negative part. The fact that they had 1.4 billion before in terms of buying it. But again, you can't look in the past. You got to look forward. You got to do what's good for now, right? If you just dwell in the past and you paid $1.4 billion, but then kept on it, and then you wanted to invest more and waste more time and all that stuff while taking away focus from the other portions of cybersecurity, I don't think that's necessarily a great play. It is unfortunate, but it is what it is, and they have to move forward. And this management team, again, I think is moving at a good pace. Hopefully, we have to see still more stuff, but so far seems like it's decent promise. But yeah, I'm incredibly excited to partner with Arctic Wolf through this agreement, said John G. Mateo, Chief Executive Officer, CEO of BlackBerry. We see this in transaction as a win-win for our shareholders and all other stakeholders, which he also mentions in the beginning of the call as well. It's a win-win. Our customers will realize the benefits of continuity of service and the expertise that a global cybersecurity leader like Arctic Wolf provides. Arctic Wolf benefits by adding Cylance endpoint security solutions to this native platform. And then finally, as Arctic Wolf leverages its scale to build upon and grow the Cylance business, BlackBerry will benefit as a reseller of the portfolio to our large government customers and as a shareholder of the company. There will be no impact to BlackBerry Security Communications portfolio of business, which includes BlackBerry UEM, BlackBerry AtHoc, and BlackBerry SecuSUITE. The secure communications business will remain an integral part of the BlackBerry portfolio. Actually, I guess they mentioned it somewhere here in the press release, but basically they're keeping their patents. I read it somewhere here, but the problem is that they could go on a continuation of essentially the same thing over and over again. But essentially, they're keeping the patents, which is awesome. That's another benefit. When patents are valuable, they could sell them in the future. They have licensing, all that stuff. It's very beneficial, right? So it's not a bad deal. It's just the only downfall is that $1.4 billion, right? That's the unfortunate part. Now, in terms of the business call, here's what are the key points. So first off, CEO John G. Mateo opened up with, this is a win-win deal for shareholders. In general, John said that this will help us focus more on the profitable side of BlackBerry cybersecurity, which I mentioned before, and then in general, BlackBerry in general. And then Cylance will continue through Arctic Wolf, and then he's expecting this to close by Q4 or within Q4. And then Tim, CFO, said BlackBerry keeps the Cylance patents and the tax losses as well. This is amazing, actually. Oh yeah, the reason why I said this is amazing. So they keep the patents, obviously, but the best part is also tax losses. So in case you guys are not familiar, they've invested a lot of money into this company in terms of research and development and all that stuff. Those count as losses. They're not profits, obviously, right? Well, the benefit is once BlackBerry starts making money, they could write their profits against these losses and then therefore not pay taxes. Because they've already essentially paid taxes kind of thing, but it takes away from the taxes that they would have to pay. So if they didn't have these tax losses, then the profits that they're making in the future will be a little bit mitigated because you have to pay taxes on those. It depends on the corporate tax, right? I think it's currently at 21% or something like that, but still, it's pretty good. So basically the profits that they're making forward, it's pretty much keeping all of it because they have losses to go against it from previous history, right? So that's pretty awesome. Then there was a Q&A. And then Arctic Wolf, so in terms of Q&A, Arctic Wolf evaluation was asked about, and $8 a share was asked if this was a fair valuation. So the analyst saw the same things I saw in terms of valuations he saw online, or wherever he might have saw it from or calculated, I'm not sure 100%. And like I stated, Tim, CFO, stated that $18 to $50 million valuation for the shares they got seems like it's a possibility. Didn't provide 100% clarity, but again, it is a private company. And to provide evaluations, you have to look at a bunch of things. So it's not necessarily easy, right? So amount of shares, I think they got a good amount of shares. But again, the problem is amount of shares, but the problem, the amount of cash they got plus the amount of shares is still roughly about 200 million shares, $200 million if you assess it like that versus $1.4 billion. Even though they got a good amount of shares, it's still a little bit less than 1.4, not a little bit less, quite less, right? But again, you can't look at the past, you got to move forward, and I think they're doing a good job. That's just my opinion, right? And again, I own shares in the company, so keep that in mind while you're watching this video. But and then the next part was asked about the other cybersecurity parts of the BlackBerry in terms of potentially selling or pass and all that stuff. And John G. Mateo, CEO of BlackBerry, said he's focused on growing them forward and said he's open to anything to increase shareholders' value, right? And then BlackBerry will help Arctic Wolf to be successful given the partnership happening with Cylance and government work and the vested interest with the 5.5 million shares. Then Cylance workers going to, oh, and then also it was basically asked like, what about the workers working on Cylance? John G. Mateo basically said those people are only working on Cylance for the most part, basically. So Cylance workers going to go work with Arctic Wolf. To me, I believe this will be a cost-cutting savings in general for BlackBerry, right? If you're not paying these workers because they're going there, I'm assuming Arctic Wolf is going to pay them, obviously, right? Because they're going to be working for Arctic Wolf in the Cylance division for Arctic Wolf. So that provides a little bit of cost cutting too. So that's pretty good. So overall, good movement, good stuff. The only negative I have is about the cost they sold it for. That's the only negative. Other than that, it shows how fast the company's moving. Because again, in my opinion, I don't know about you guys, I did not expect them to sell Cylance that fast. If best case scenario, it may be like mid of next year, but I did not expect it to go this quick. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the past, things that they would always try to sell, it was always moving super slow. But this team is doing pretty well. So good stuff on their part. Now, in terms of a little bit of the technicals, this is just very minimal. I'm going to just minimize this for a sec. And basically, right now, if you're looking at the US side, it's at $3.16, give or take. And if you look at the 1 year chart, this MACD line indicates we're in a bearish or bullish movement. Currently in the bullish movement, so that's showing potentially more upside to come. 5 year chart, bullish movement, potentially more upside to come. And the all chart, bullish movement, potentially more upside to come. Now, what I want to really show is it's above the moving averages for the 1 year chart, so that's awesome. And then the 5 year chart, the next moving average is the 100-day moving average, which is at a clean $3.50. Now, if the earnings is good, which I do have a video, probably popped up in the beginning of the video, or it should pop up probably right about here somewhere, but it's expectations for Q3. Now, that video is strictly on the numbers, but given how they've moved right now, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a surprise for Q3, potentially maybe being profitable or something like that. But that video is still accurate, I would say, but only strictly on the numbers, and it's not based off of new movement basically for the time being, but we'll see what will happen. But either way, 350 is the first milestone that we'd have to pass in terms of major resistance. Then there is potentially somewhere between the $3.80. Given this uptick right about here and got stopped, you could argue it got stopped because of the moving average as well. But then there was a bunch of consolidation around the 380. So I would say after 350 is 380, but then pretty much going to 440 to 460. The only thing is though, it's obviously not going to go straight to 440 to 460. There will be resistance on the way and it'll be slow and all that stuff. But I'm just saying in terms of major resistance from what I see, somewhere between the 350, well, not between, but it'll be like 350 and then 386, 388 when I saw, and then there would be 440 to 440, 466, 470, almost like that, pretty much give or take. And then we're pretty much moving to the next moving average, which is about the 200-day moving average is about 565. Now, mind you, these are just high level resistance levels. It doesn't mean it's just smooth sailing all the way through, because obviously, for example, the clean $4 mark, I'm sure that's going to cause some pause. The $5 clean mark, that's probably going to cause some pause as well. So just be aware of like these major milestones. But again, the reason why I just want to point it out, 350, I think it should be breaking personally, because the earnings I think will be good. That's just my opinion. Again, I do own shares in the company, so just be mindful of that though while you're watching this. But then the next milestone would be the 380. I don't think that would cause too much issues, even though we've seen it in the past, consolidation plus that spike. It would be the more 440 to 460 range. But again, I just wanted to show this stuff. And then if you go to alt chart, there is a bunch of more moving averages, like the 50-day, 100-day, and all that stuff, and they're showing at 584, like $5.84, and then 697. So we might be stuck there for some time after the earnings and all that stuff. Well, not after the earnings, but maybe by after Q4 potentially, if the momentum still keeps going up to the upside like this, right? So far, it's good momentum, good management movement, all that stuff. But these are the key points. I might have done very, very general coverage for this. I apologize, but I just wanted to show mainly the first few resistance levels in terms of what you're looking to face. That's all. But that's basically it. Hope you guys enjoyed the videos. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And be on the lookout for the conference call for the earnings dropping out tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks again for watching. Take care. God bless and peace.